So after using the Viltrox 85 for 3 months, what do I think of it? I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's awesome. I made a video a couple months back when I first got it, and I kind of put the lens through its paces on a 12-hour wedding day. And I got some really awesome comments on that video, so thank you for watching that video. Thank you for adding your comments. Some of the comments were asking some questions about the lens, and some were giving suggestions on how to work around some of the issues that I found with it. So I appreciate all those comments. Keep them coming. But yeah, I just kind of want to update it because this lens is still relatively very new for the Fuji X mount, and so naturally people are kind of curious about it. We've kind of been spoiled by Fujifilm's glass because it's like all their lenses are really good. So I think a lot of people are skeptical or just not sure when a third-party manufacturer wants to make lenses for our beloved Fujifilm cameras. So let me tell you what I've used the lens for. I've shot 7 weddings, like 4 photo shoots. I wrote it down. 4 photo shoots and 2 automotive shoots. Well, technically 4 automotive shoots if you count each car that I shot. And then just a bunch of video at like all day, like we did an anime conference, we did a photography and video conference, and this was my go-to lens when I needed telephoto shots, and I was using it for video, and it worked great. So basically the lens has never once failed me. No problems, no like error in communication with the body, no like why won't it autofocus, no like oh, it just broke off of its lens mount and now it doesn't work. Nothing like that. It's just worked very well through everything I've put it through. So that being said, I just wanted to go through some of the comments that you made on my other videos so I could kind of address those questions, answer those questions here so that if you're considering getting this camera, I can kind of head off those questions before you even know that you have them. So one of the first ones I got was, does the face and eye detect work on photo and video mode with this lens? And the answer is yes. I've tested that with the XH1, the X-T3, the X-T30, not with an older, like an XE1 or XE2, nothing from that era, but their face and eye detect doesn't work that well anyway. So yeah, but it does work. It's not like it's grayed out or anything like that. You can totally use it, and it works very well. A good question I got asked is, what firmware am I running on the lens? So right before I bought the lens, or right after, somewhere in there, they came out with a new firmware. So I've been using version 1.03, which at this time is the latest firmware for the lens. And it's been working fine for me. All the results I've gotten have been with that firmware. And all my Fuji cameras are usually running the latest firmware, so yeah. It works. Now, another question I got is about the aperture. So since this lens does not have an aperture ring, I was asked the question, can you use auto aperture with this lens? And the answer is yes, you can. I've confirmed that again with my XH1, XT30, XT3. If you have an older camera, I can't really say for those just because I don't actually have one, but it should be the same. Because Fuji makes lenses themselves that don't have aperture rings. So once you've assigned your aperture control to your front command wheel or whatever you have it assigned to, if you start at like f1.8 at the wide open end and you just keep going towards f16, once you click past f16, it switches over to auto mode. So if you're having a problem with that, just try it out. It should work for you. So that's how you do auto aperture with this lens. Same with all the other Fuji lenses that don't have aperture rings. All right, so in the last video I made for this lens, something that I talked about is that this big, huge, wonderful focusing ring, when you're holding the camera and you kind of half press the shutter to lock focus, sometimes you just turn it a little bit. You like that sound effect? Yeah, you turn it a little bit, and then if you have your like manual focus override stuff turned on, then that can kind of mess you up because it'll easily fall out of focus because this is just so big that you end up holding on to this. So one of the users, I'll put your name right here because I don't know it off the top of my head. Shout out to you. He recommended, or maybe it was a she. they recommended that I just turn that function off. So if you go into settings, you go into the AF menu, and it's under AF plus MF, turn that to off. And now when you have pressed the shutter, you can spin this guy all you want and it won't do anything. At the time, I thought I would miss that function because I thought I used it a lot, but once I turned it off, I never missed it. I haven't missed it since. So if you use that a lot, something to think about. But if you don't, that's an easy way to get around maybe having focusing issues with the lens. So I just want to talk about one other issue that I found when I was initially testing the lens. When you're using auto shutter, you kind of get this kind of flickering. It looks kind of like aperture chatter, like the camera just doesn't really know what to do with the shutter speed or the aperture. I don't really know what's going on. But I addressed this in my first video, and I just wanted to address it again and say it still does that. I don't know why it does that. I've not really found any settings, playing around with any of the settings that can kind of calm that down. It just seems to be a way that the lens communicates with the camera, that's just how it's going to be. So in the other video I made, a solution that I found was if you just dial in your shutter speed. So instead of leaving your shutter on auto, if you switch it to one of the assigned numbers on the wheel, or like me, if you put it on T and then you just use the rear wheel to dial in your shutter speed, once you have a shutter speed locked in, it doesn't do that bright, dark, weird goofiness. It doesn't do that anymore. I don't know why. You can have auto ISO all day long, auto aperture all day long, no problem. Just the shutter speed. I don't know. Maybe they can fix it with a firmware update. Viltrox, can you fix that? Can you fix that? Because I did talk to at least one person in the comments who said they shoot auto shutter like all the time. So if that's you, then you got to think about it. So that pretty much wraps it up. I just wanted to make a video to kind of update you guys. For me personally, the lens has been working out great. Like I said, I still take my 50-140 with me, like to weddings, but I just never really use it. I really like using the 85. I like the background blur. I like how light it is, and I just like the images that I get with it. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna leave you now with some sample images of stuff I've shot with the Viltrox. All of it's probably at f1.8 because I just shoot everything wide open because that's just me. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.